Josen watched as the warriors carried up mounds of crystals and placed them in a pile. The enemy had been pushed back for the moment, and the cavern was filled with an ominous silence. "Will this be enough?" Corbin grunted. "I dinna know," Josen replied, shaking his head. "But it be the best we can do. And so—" He swallowed hard and reached down to grab a handful of smaller crystals. "Everyone should take a few shards. Some of the bigger groups can take the bigger crystals." Josen began walking towards the tunnels that they knew led to the pulsating purple vortex further down into the belly of the mountain. "We need to get as many of these things through the rift as we can." As he spoke, there came an ominous rumbling. Soldiers hurried to distribute the pile of crystals that they had collected, but as they did so there came a thunderous crack, and a hole appeared in the rocks behind them. The warriors began coughing as dust and grime filled the cavern in their lungs, and before they could yell out in warning, swarms of goblins and rat-men poured out of the new opening. The first dozen soldiers were dead before anyone could tell what had happened. "Corboom!" Josen yelled through the chaos. "Here, lad!" came the reply as the dwarf pushed through the dusty fog. "Form up!" he bellowed, calling out regiment numbers and positionings. Within moments the dwarves under his control had coalesced to form an impenetrable shield wall that the waves of ratkin and goblins broke against, seething on the opposite side. "We dinna have much time," Corboom grunted through gritted teeth. "We need to get the crystals through the rift," Josen coughed. Corboom nodded grimly. "I canna give ye much time. Best if ye use it wisely." The old general turned to Josen. "Ye be our only hope now. Dinna disappoint me." He reached up and clapped Josen on the back, pushing him towards the exit. "But—" Josen tried to protest, but he was drowned out by Corboom's booming voice as he called out orders. "Sons of the Droom!" he yelled. "Avance! Take these sorry tracking-eating piles of garbage to meet their sorry gods, as we go to meet our ancestors tonight." The dwarves of Calicdroom responded in kind, bellowing insults at their foes as they began their implacable advance, pushing the piles of cowardly flesh before them as they stepped over the fallen corpses of overgrown rats and goblins alike. Josen tarried a moment longer, unable to move away from the sacrifice of his kin. But then Corboom's voice shook him from his reverie. "Go, ye daft hinny! We canna hold 'em forever." Josen turned and led the remaining warriors from their allies down the twisting catacombs until they reached their goal. The young dwarf priest gasped as he rounded the corner and saw the great rift swirling before them. "Gods below," he muttered under his breath. This rift was smaller than that which he found at the Twilight Glade, but the thing which had caused him to utter his curse was what lay between him and their goal. A staggered battle line was arrayed against them, consisting of all the denizens of the dark. Nightmarish creatures stood shoulder to shoulder with orcs and evil men alike, and all of them looked ready for violence. Quickly, Josen called out orders to form up into combat units and prepare for battle. The evil force barely gave them enough time to filter into the large cavern before beginning their advance, charging towards them with reckless abandon. Josen's eyes went wide, and he braced himself for the clash.